Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We will go ahead and get started here in just a minute. We're going to give some people a little extra time to join. Okay. Looks like we've got a good audience presentation here. Let's go ahead and get started. Good morning. Thank you for joining and welcome to our webinar on EU, ESPR, and Digital Product Passport, Navigating New Sustainability Frontiers for EU Brands and US Retailers, where we will explore the key regulatory drivers in the US and EU that are shaping the future of sustainable products, packaging, and supply chains. Before we begin the presentation today, we have a few housekeeping rules. First off, all participants are muted to avoid any background noise during this webinar. There may be a time lag between slides. If you are having problems, please refresh your screen and reconnect. Additionally, feel free to reach out via the Q&A chat box on your screen if you have any additional questions. For the question and answer portion of today's webinar, please submit your questions online via the same Q&A tab on your screen. We will do our best to get everyone's question answered. Should we run out of time, someone from the US TubeSud team will reach out via email at a later date. At the end of today's session, there will be a short survey. Please stay on for a few minutes to answer these short survey questions. We truly appreciate your comments and feedback. Now, let's get started. I'll introduce TubeSud as well as our topics on our speaking session today. TubeSud is a world-renowned company for providing international testing, assessment, training, and certification services for over 150 years, with offices in 1,000 locations and 50 countries and represented by over 28,000 employees. As a global leader in management system certification, validation, and verification audits, TubeSud's extensive industry experience and expertise elevate the management systems for our clients through our unique approach towards audits. Our speakers today are Chiara and Sandeep. Sandeep is a product safety business development executive in the consumer goods industry and brings years of experience from within diverse industries such as apparel, home goods, footwear, and accessories. And since 2024, Chiara has been an LCA specialist at TubeSud, bringing expertise in environmental impact assessment and product environmental schemes and declarations. Before I hand over this to the speakers, I'm going to quickly go over our agenda for today. First off, we'll do an overview of ESPR, then we'll do a digital product passport review, what's next, and our last but not least, our question and answer portion. Now, to start things off, I have a quick poll for our audience members. Please take a look at your screen and take a moment to answer the quick question by selecting an option A, B, C, D, or E to the following question. Where are you in your ESPR DPP readiness journey? If you go ahead on our audience, take your mouse, select where you are, your feedback is greatly appreciated. I'll just give you guys a few minutes here. Either you're just starting, maybe you're learning the process, preparing, implementing, or you're already proactive, which is great. Okay, give you a couple more seconds here. All right, let's look at our answers. Okay, this is great. It looks like a lot of you guys are just starting, but we also have a lot of people learning this process. So I think you're in the right spot for being here at today's webinar. But at this point in time, I will go ahead and pass it off to our first speaker. Chiara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Renata. Good morning, everyone. I'm Chiara Dini, and I'm very happy to lead you through this journey into the ESPR landscape. So today we'll be answering three main questions, which are: what is the ESPR? what products and industries are affected, and what is the timeline for this regulation. So first of all, we'll take a step back and look at where the ESPR is located into the European policy framework. So we have at first the European Green Deal, which is the overarching strategy to make the EU climate neutral by 2050, and it acts as the umbrella that sets the direction. Under the European Green Deal, we have the Circular Economy Action Plan, which focuses on making our economy more sustainable by reducing waste and reusing resources wherever possible. Within the Circular Economy Action Plan, we have the Sustainable Product Initiative, which aims to make sustainable products the norm in the European Union. And this initiative uses one instrument, which is the ESPR, in order to make products more environmentally friendly through some eco-design rules that are applied to each product group through delegated acts. So now that we've looked at the broader context and where the ESPR sits in the European policy, let's dive into the ESPR specific, to the characteristic and the specifics of the ESPR. So we'll start by highlighting the main objective of this regulation, which is to improve the environmental sustainability of products throughout their whole life cycle. This is a very significant shift from the old Ecodesign directive that primarily focused on energy efficiency and only included energy-related products. Instead, the Ecodesign for Sustainable Products regulation covers a wider range of products, as we will see later, in terms of both performance and information requirements. And the performance aspects do not only consider energy efficiency, but also resource efficiency, from the design process to the end of life of a product. And this is very important, as it means that we use our resources smarter and we keep them in a continuous loop as long as possible. So in other words, it promotes circularity so that materials don't end up in waste. And at the same time, it also looks at the overall environmental impact of a product, looking at aspects such as climate change, pollution, and resource depletion. The key areas of focus of this regulation are eco-design requirements. These are the specific sustainability criteria that products must meet. It introduces a digital product passport, which is a digital tool that gives us information about a product's sustainability. Then it also introduces rules on unsold consumer products. This is a way to reduce waste and encourage reuse and recycling, mainly in the textile sector. And then it also introduces criteria on green public procurement. This is a way to encourage public authorities to purchase sustainable products. So each of these elements plays a crucial role in driving the shift towards a more sustainable economy, helping us make smarter and more conscious choices. But which are the products that are affected by this regulation? As we can see on the right side, they are all the physical goods and components that are placed on the EU market. Especially, we see that it covers a wide range of products. We have energy-related products like household appliances, electronics such as computers and smartphones. We have textiles and footwear, furniture, mattresses, tires, cleaning products, paints, lubricants, chemicals, and there are also some intermediate products, which are iron, steel, and aluminum. So now that we've covered the foundation of the ESPR, let's have a look at the timeline. So as you can see here, the ESPR isn't something that's happening in the future. It's something that is happening right now and for which companies should start preparing from now, starting now. So we see that it came into force in July last year. In April of this year, the first ESPR working plan was published, which shows us which products will have rules first, and we will see them in a while. By the mid of this year, in July, a draft rule on preventing the destruction of unsold goods was published. By the end of this year, we expect rules on the digital product passport, and the specifications on how it will work will be finalized. Then in 2026, there will be the first adoption of ESPR measures. And from 2027 and 2028, these product requirements will start to apply. So this is when you need to make sure that your products fully comply with Ecodesign requirements specific to your product groups. So as you can see here, there are clear deadlines. So for businesses, preparation is key, and 2027, 2028 might seem far, but it's a very long process in order to adjust your products and processes to these rules, to these Ecodesign requirements. So it takes significant work on product design, the sourcing of materials, data collection, and potentially a review of manufacturing processes. So the earlier you start, the better, of course. And a good place to begin this work is with understanding the Ecodesign requirements. Here they are. So we will now dive into these different aspects of the Ecodesign. And as you can see here, there's not only energy efficiency like the old Ecodesign directive, but we have a much wider range of aspects to look at, which touch every stage of a product's life cycle. The goal here of the European Commission is to make sustainability built in from the start. So from the design phase of the product, all these requirements should be taken into account. So we will go through all of them just to explain a bit what they mean. So we have durability and reliability, which means designing products to last longer and perform consistently. We have reusability, upgradability, and repairability. This means making products easier to reuse, upgrade, and fix. Then we have the presence of harmful substances. And so this is about minimizing or eliminating those harmful substances and materials in the products. Then energy and water efficiency. So this is about optimizing the consumption of these two elements. Then we also have resource use and efficiency. And this is about using materials more efficiently and reduce waste throughout each process of the life cycle. Then, very importantly, we have recycled content. So this is about promoting the use of recycled materials to reduce reliance on virgin resources. Waste generation, recyclability, and recovery. So this is about designing products to minimize waste, make sure that they are easily recyclable, and allow valuable materials to be recovered at the end of life. Then we have carbon footprint and environmental footprint. This helps to measure and reduce the overall environmental impact of the products. And lastly, we have the remanufacturing potential. So this is about designing products so that they can be remanufactured or given a second life. As you can see, there are many requirements, but these will not be implemented all at once. So the European Commission will prioritize product groups based on their environmental impact as well as their potential for improvement. But we will go into detail about the prioritized products later on. Now we'll dive a bit deeper into all these aspects, but we will look at the aspects related to product longevity, to manufacturing and the end of life of the product separately. So now in green, you just see the most important aspects related to how long and how well a product works over its lifetime. So to see this in practice, we can take repairability as an example. So repairability under the ESPR is not just about making products easier to fix. So manufacturers will be required to provide, for example, clear and accessible repair information to ensure that spare parts are available and will be available for a certain number of years, and design products in a way that allows them to be opened and disassembled with standard tools. So this means, for example, that a product shouldn't be glued or designed in a way that makes repair impossible, because the idea is to empower both consumers and repair shops to extend the lifetime of a product. So you can think about in your own life how many electronic devices today are almost impossible to separate without damaging them. So let's say that the ESPR is pushing for a change in this approach. It wants to make repairability a built-in feature in the products from the very start. Next, we will look at how the other aspects, like recycled content, resource efficiency, impact the manufacturing phase of a product. So in orange, we can see those aspects, and they include things like the presence of substances of concern, resource use, or recycled content. And all of these elements work together to make products more sustainable from the start. So let's take recycled content as an example, as it is one of the main aspects that is, let's say, horizontally applied to many product groups. So under the ESPR, this could mean that manufacturers are required to include an information requirement that is to disclose the percentage of recycled content that is present in a product, but also it will add a performance requirement. So in the future, it will require products to have, for example, a minimum percentage of recycled content. And this not only helps reducing the use of virgin materials, but it also helps and supports recycling markets at the end of life. And lastly, we have the group of requirements related to the end of life of the product. Okay, so these include things like how easily a product can be recycled, how much waste it generates, and the possibility to recover this waste and these materials that are still valuable. And for example, we can look at recyclability, which can translate into rules that require products to be designed in a way that make them easily disassembled and disassembled at the end of life into the different materials. For instance, this could be also done by clearly labeling the materials used in the product, or using snap fit connections instead of adhesive, for example, which often makes separation and recycling very difficult. So as we've seen, the ESPR gives a very clear direction, but many of these technical specifications still need to be developed for each product group. And as a testing institute, we monitor these developments so that we can provide you with the information and most up-to-date guidance going forward. here, before we dive into the digital product passport, it's essential to understand what the ESPR requires by the different actors along the value chain and how responsibility are shared between them. These regulations, as you can see here, involves many stakeholders working together, but today we'll keep the focus on the manufacturer and the importers, as they have the main responsibility for product compliance. So if we start with the manufacturer, since you are the one who designs the product, the ESPR places the obligation on you to create products that already meet all the requirements from the start. So if you produce electronics, you will need to address things like energy consumption during use, recycled material content, and repairability during the product lifetime. So in other words, manufacturing needs to become more transparent and more sustainable. Instead, for importers, your role is to ensure that any product that enters the EU market, even if it's made elsewhere, fully complies with ESPR requirements. So this means that both manufacturers and importers must understand and apply the upcoming rules. And of course, both will need to be updated and be kept updated with the evolving landscape of the ESPR. So now I'll hand over to Sandeep, who will give you an introduction of the digital product passport.
Thank you, Chiara, for the great introduction of the ESPR. Morning, everyone. Let's now take a closer look at one of the most transformative tools for transparency under the regulations, the digital product passport. But the question is, first of all, what is exactly the DPP? The digital product passport, as its name says, is a digital tool designed to collect and share relevant data about a product and its supply chain. DPP is a core deliverable under the ESPR. So DPP will become mandatory for various product groups, supporting market surveillance, consumer transparency, and circular economy goals. Its purpose is to make access to information easier and transparent, especially data related to sustainability, circularity, and regulatory compliance, all in one place. The consumer will be able to kind of receive more transparent information, just scanning the QR code on the product and make more conscious choices. So at the same time, the companies can use the DPP as a competitive tool, showcasing their sustainability efforts and communicating them clearly to the market. It is not just a digital label, but a dynamic product data system designed to enhance traceability, sustainability, and circularity. So how does this DPP actually work? The system will be decentralized, which means that the data will be managed by the company creating the DPP or by authorized service provider. However, to ensure the efficiency and support market surveillance, the European Commission will create a central registry and searchable online portal to connect and access all DPPs. So how does this lifecycle data actually access work? So first, imagine the journey of a product from the raw material to the moment it reaches the consumer to its end of life. The digital product passport acts like a transparent guidebook for this journey. Each product gets a unique digital identity called UID tied to a database, storing the key environmental and regulatory information. Think of DPP as a digital twin that informs the recyclers, repairers, consumers, and regulators throughout the product through use and the post-use phases. So talking about the access, the DPP will have a tiered access model. The consumer can view product sustainability attributes, that is durability and recyclability. And then the recyclers and the repairers may access the design, material, and dismantling info. Authorities, as example, the customs and European Commissions, can view compliance data and certificates. Some data may be restricted due to the IP or trade secrets. There's access to this. Access is expected via the QR code or digital platform with secure authentication where needed. With all that said, there are, of course, some challenges for the brands and importers. It requires a stronger data traceability access across the entire supply chain, which means that companies may need to adapt, process, and improve data management. But in the end, DPP should not just be seen as a compliance requirement, but also an opportunity to demonstrate transparency, but build trust and show leadership in the sustainability area. So how different entities of supply chain, like I said, manufacturer, designer, recycler, regulators, interact with DPP system. So on this slide, we can see the DPP is built around the two main components: the digital system itself on the left, and the specific requirement, specific information that must be included on the right. So starting with the system, the European Commission will create and manage a central registry that securely stores data, including the unique identifier for each product with the DPP. The Commission will also define through a future delegated act what additional details need to be recorded in the registry. The Commission will also develop a web portal, as I mentioned, that allows the consumer, authorities, and other stakeholders to easily search and compare the DPP data. Since the DPP is designed as a centralized system, a decentralized system, the individual operators will manage their own data. This makes a strong IT infrastructure essential so that all users can speak the same language. This involves standardization on things like product identification, data security, and interoperability via API, which is application programming interface. You can share information, share data with this secure platform. Over the past year, the Commission has been given tasks to the European Committee for Standardization to develop this standard to ensure the system works smoothly and consistently across all operators. Regarding the data itself, the specific information required in the DPP will vary depending on product group, which will be defined by the Ecodesign forum. The digital product passport is not just a tool limited to the ESPR regulation. As we can see, there are several product groups that should be digital, that should have digital product passport to be sold on the EU market in the 2028 to 2033 period. This is not an exhaustive list. As you know, the ESPR will adopt the DPP for other product groups gradually, as delegated acts on Ecodesign requirement will be published. Also, future EU regulations could mandate the DPP for other products such as fertilizer, footwear, ceramic products, chemical products, lubricant, non-ferrous metals, pulp and paper, plastic, polymer, glass, etc. Regardless of product group, all DPPs will be registered and overseen in the same EU system through the central registry and viewing portal. Now let's talk about the timeline. So this slide kind of illustrates the rollout timeline for digital product passport. Its introduction for specific product group will kind of align with the schedule set for Ecodesign requirements. The adoption of the delegated acts will depend on how quickly the standardization work progresses, as well as the entry into force of the first ESPR delegated acts. Currently, the standardization process is expected to be completed by the end of this year, after which the Commission will define the rules for the registry and the searchable web portal likely next year. So just to clarify what are delegated acts that I keep referring to. The delegated act is a non-legislative act of general application adopted by the European Commission to supplement or amend certain non-essential elements of a legislative act. This ESPR provides a broad legal framework, but many of the specific details, such as which product group are covered, what data elements must be included in DPP, and how data is formatted or accessed, are left to be defined later by the delegated acts. The first product group expected to require a DPP are batteries, and then textiles, that includes apparel and footwear, and then consumer electronics, and ICT, which is information and communication technologies like smartphone, tablets, laptops. These are the priority sectors under the ESPR regulation, with delegated acts expected by 2025 and 2026. Furniture, toys, detergent, and construction products are also in scope under the related regulation. Now I'm going to hand it over to Chiara again for what's next.
Yes. So what's next? Now we have explored the ESPR and the digital product passport, but we'll explore now what is happening and what are the priorities for the near future and how businesses can prepare for them. So this slide shows you what the first working plan for 2025-2030 that was published in April prioritized and identified as the priority products to focus on for the development of the first Ecodesign requirements. So these products that you see here were identified based on their high potential for improvement in these different aspects of sustainability, such as durability, material efficiency, energy and water impact reduction, climate change, recyclability, and other aspects. So as the final products, we see textiles, tires, furniture, and bed mattresses as the first 4 priorities, whereas for intermediate products, we have iron and steel and aluminum. On the right part, we have the horizontal measures that basically apply to all of these products. And they are about repairability, the use of recycled content, and recyclability. So all these aspects will be developed and will be applied to all the products that will see Ecodesign requirements to be published in 2026 or 2027 onwards, from 2027 onwards. So whereas among the products which were not included in the first working plan are detergents, paints, and lubricants, which were found to have a lower improvement potential than the final product selected. Then we had footwear, which was kept separate from textiles due to the different use of materials, different supply chains, and different function. However, a study will be conducted on footwear in order to understand the potential for improvement and the potential for improvements in terms of eco-design requirements for the near future. And also chemicals were excluded from the first working plan, as it was considered as a very complex category of products. So for the chemicals industry, for the chemical group, also a study will be conducted in order to define the potential chemicals in scope and also the aspects to focus on. And the study will be released by the end of this year. We haven't talked about energy-related products, which actually continue to be regulated under the old Ecodesign directive, which you see there. So the Directive 2009/125 EC, which despite it was repealed in 2024, this product is still valid, and these products still fall under this directive until the end, so December 2030. And after this date, all new amendments and new requirements for energy-related products will be set and will be decided under the ESPR. So there is a transition period in order, so it's a very smooth transition from the Ecodesign directive to the ESPR. Okay. So in terms of the 19 products, so the Commission had already started working on 19 products, which we see at the bottom of the screen of the slide. And for these products, there is a study that will continue in order to understand how to introduce eco-design and labeling requirements. So the ESPR sets a transition period until the 31st of December 2026 in order to understand eco-design for these types of products. Instead, for other 16 products, which were also included in the preliminary study, they actually were shifted to the 2025-2030 working plan. And this means that for these products, they already started to think about the eco-design and labeling requirements. So for those, we will see those requirements to be applied and to be decided in the next upcoming years. In terms of the energy labeling regulation, this will continue to be applied. And also, the eco-design and energy labeling consultation will stay active. This gives stakeholders a platform to share feedback and join discussion during this transition. So what does the ESPR mean for businesses? So the first, we see on the left, the first important change that the ESPR has brought, which is the introduction of eco-design requirements on a wide range of aspects. So businesses need to rethink how they design products, from the choice of raw materials all the way to the end of life. As I repeated before, sustainability needs to be built in from the start, from the design phase. The second introduction is the digital product passport, which is both a challenge, but also an opportunity for companies. A challenge because businesses must collect, manage, and share a lot of data in a completely new way about the products. But it is also a powerful opportunity to improve transparency, strengthen consumer trust, and make supply chains more efficient. The third, in terms of reporting obligations, businesses will have to disclose a lot of information and details on the environmental performance of their products. So instead of seeing this as a burden, it could be seen as an opportunity to highlight sustainability achievements and build also a strong brand image. The ESPR also has implications beyond Europe. True, it applies to product that enters the EU, but it also includes many products which are manufactured elsewhere. So it is very important that the supply chain and suppliers around the world are engaged and are collaborative, and also that they are aligned with the sustainable requirements of the ESPR. And lastly, the ESPR will have strict controls and penalties. So non-compliance will have consequences, but it is important to take a proactive approach in order to turn compliance into a competitive advantage and be positioned as a leader in sustainability. So overall, the ESPR is driving a shift towards sustainable, circular, and compliant business practices. So how can companies prepare for all these new requirements that are brought in by the new regulation? So first of all, getting ready for the ESPR means starting now, not waiting until the rules are in place. So some key steps that you can take are, first of all, understand the requirements. So start to familiarize yourself with the ESPR requirements that apply to your products, from eco-design measures to the digital product passport, and also the reporting obligations. Secondly, start to assess your starting point. So review your current products and practices to identify where opportunities to improve and changes are needed. Then you need to start to rethink the design of your products, starting to take sustainability and all the eco-design requirements within the product development from the start, especially on aspects such as durability, recyclability, and the use of recycled materials. Then, very importantly, is to get your data in order. So to have systems in place to manage, firstly to collect, share, manage and share the information about the product in order to populate digital product passport with accurate and verifiable information. This is another very important point, to engage your supply chain. So start to work closely with your suppliers to ensure that they collaborate in data collection and also that they comply with the requirements as well. And last but not least, make sure that your employees across the company understand what the ESPR is and what they mean for their role, because sustainability should be a shared responsibility, not just top management responsibility. So preparing for the ESPR is not just about compliance, but it is a long-term investment in competitiveness and in your company's long-term success. So we are here as TÜV to help you understand the ESPR rules, manage risks, and turn ESPR into an opportunity for your business. So we have a wide range of services that are designed to support you throughout the ESPR journey. Our services include integrated digital solutions that help you record, manage, and share product data effectively. Holistic sustainability approach, we offer detailed lifecycle assessment to help you assess and improve the environmental performance of your products. Industry-specific expertise refer to tailored solutions that we offer that address the unique challenges of your sector. Then we offer conformity assessment services. So from testing to verification, we make sure that your products meet the ESPR requirements. We offer inspection and audit services, ensuring that you comply also across your operations. And lastly, we offer training programs to equip your teams with the knowledge they need for the ESPR. As we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with one message, which is that ESPR is more than just compliance. It's also an opportunity to rethink how we design, produce, and manage products for a sustainable future. So in this session, we explored the main elements of the ESPR, from the Ecodesign requirements to the digital product passport, the implications for businesses, and how ToolSuite can support you on this journey. So thank you very much for being with us today. And with this, I will now pass the floor to Renata.
Thank you so much, Chiara. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Sandeep. All right, everyone, thank you for joining. Next up is we have one last question for our participants. If you wouldn't mind going ahead and reading through the question, where do you need support from ToolSuite? We've got a few different options there. If you wouldn't mind selecting which one matches your needs, and we will go ahead and take that information. All of your feedback is extremely valuable, so thank you for taking the time to participate today. And then after this, if you guys want to start inserting your questions into the chat box, we can go ahead and start answering some of those. While you respond to this, I'll go ahead and get started on the question and answer portion. So it looks like our first question came in, and it says, what are the core data elements that must be included in a DPP?
I'll take that. That was a great question. I think you're talking about 15 core elements. That includes unique product ID. I kind of said a couple of times, UID, and then material composition and HVACs from REACH regulation. All the regulation will be integrated within the platform. And then the carbon footprint or LCA data. And then other would be repairability and durability information. Then country of origin and manufacturing location, end of life instructions, and then digital access mechanism with the QR code and stuff. So this will be again defined more and more clearly through the delegated acts that I mentioned during my presentation. Hope that helps.
Perfect. All right, let's see. Okay, here's another one. Will the requirements be the same for SMEs and large companies?
Yeah, I can answer these. So yes, the requirements will be the same for all companies. However, the European Commission recognizes that it is very challenging for small and medium enterprises to, let's say, comply to all of these requirements. So they acknowledge this, and they are putting in place, and they're thinking about some measures that can help them to comply with the requirements, such as considering to simplify the procedures or giving technical guidance and incentives, financial incentives to help them and guide them through this process, which is a complex process, which requires a lot of adjustments for small and medium enterprises and a lot of also financial effort.
Perfect. Okay, looks like we had one come in from the audience. Will the government, I'm sorry, we had another one come in. Here we go. Will the government be utilizing the EDI 832 file with extended attributes to gather this data?
Well, EDI, you're talking about EDI, that's what EDI fit. I talk about, the information exchanges. I mentioned API, which is the similar platform that mentioned. Basically, it says, EDI or API. At, government will be allowed. Basically, the data will be accessed through various actors within the supply chain. So I think that is very much possible, but we will have to see if EDIs, which basically is securely transforming data. So that should be allowable in my mind.
Yeah, also I can just add, sorry. So all the development of the digital product passport is not finalized yet. So the European Committee for Standardization is developing it, and with many, many stakeholders. So it's still in processing, and so there is not a final draft yet. So we will need to see how it will work and what kind of criteria they will use. So yeah, it is still in processing. So we will need to see.
Okay.
But we can keep you updated when the first draft comes out.
Yeah, I mean, as the framework mentions that data should be interoperability. It should be accessed to the digital, into the registry through API or some system. So I think there will be definitely it will be more clear in terms of how the data can flow, but it makes sense through API or EDI. That usually is the process to go through.
Okay, next question. Let's see. Who are the candidates of DPP platform service provider, if there are any?
I think, as we mentioned, all those actors within the supply chain, right, Kiara? So we can actually all those
platform service providers. Yeah, I'm not sure about who will be the service providers.
Oh, service providers.
It's still in development. It's still under development. So I will need to look more into this. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you explain the question a little more? I mean, service provider meaning the third-party lab, or I'm not exactly clear on the question.
There will be just one platform, so there will be one central registry. So.
Yeah, it will be just one registry.
That's okay. We'll move on to our next question. How will companies ensure data protection and confidentiality in the DPP?
Yeah, so for this point, so yeah, of course, this topic is very important and is acknowledged by the committee that is developing the digital product passport. And so, first of all, not all data that are put into the system will be public. So the digital product passport will distinguish between consumer information, authority checks, so information that authorities can access in order to verify the information, and also confidential business data. So there will be standards in place that guarantee security data sharing. So, and also each economic operator will have its unique code identifier to access the digital product passport. And so concerning the sharing of information to the public, it will be highly regulated so that confidential information will not be public.
Perfect. Okay. Looks like we have time for a couple more questions. Looks like our next one is, will all products need a DPP?
Well, I can take that. So basically, as I mentioned, the DPP will go through gradual product, inclusion. So for now, only product group for which the information requirements are set in the ESPR product specific, like delegated acts, will need DPP. Like as I mentioned, like batteries or textiles and all those things. But future, there will be a lot of other products will be included, but then the delegated acts and all the information is available before it's a requirement. So it will be a stage, in stages, in phases, for from 2026 until 2023 or something, the various products. So that answers the question. So.
Great answer. Okay. Will products outside the EU need a product passport? What about the online marketplace?
Yeah. So the product imported into the EU must have DPP, which Chiara mentioned, I mentioned, and required by the delegated act, with importers ensuring its presence. So those products are coming to EU, even if it's manufactured outside, that needs DPP. But online marketplace must make DPPs accessible to EU customers and provide an interface to market surveillance. So that's my understanding so far. Chiara, if you want to add something to it.
No, yeah, you're right. So all products that enter the EU market. So yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, we've got one last question, then we'll move on to closing remarks. This one says, automotive parts were originally excluded if not regulated otherwise, but the first work plan now states that aluminum and steel are being prioritized. Does this mean that automotive parts will nevertheless fall under the ESPR?
Yes, so as I can answer. So yes, so as an intermediate product, this will be part of the ESPR. So yes, the automotive industry that uses steel will have to adhere to all the requirements, and will need to make sure that the steel that is bought and then processed meets the requirement that will be set by the ESPR. So yes, it talks about intermediate product, but yes, so the steel will be utilized by this industry, so it will be subject by these rules.
Perfect. Anything to add, Sandeep?
No, I think so. It's good.
Okay.
Good.
Great. Well, let's go ahead and look at our polling results. It looks like TÜV can help out primarily in some trainings, which is great. Please remember that we are available. You can contact us at any point. Before we wrap up, I do just want to say thank you one more time to Sandeep and Chiara for your time and the wonderful presentation. And then again, I want to thank our audience. Your feedback and your participation is greatly appreciated. As a reminder, this recording will be available soon to you or any of your colleagues, or if you need to review any of the sessions that we discussed today. And again, please visit our website at www.tuvesud.com to learn more about what TÜV has to offer for you. Thank you again for joining today's session. And on behalf of all of us here at TÜV, we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.